In this video, we'll demonstrate how to build a customizable dashboard using MudBlazor components. We'll also show how these components can receive real-time updates from the server using SignalR. We'll use the standard Blazor web app template for our dashboard demo. The following is very important to get MudBlazor working in a server/WebAssembly project. For the interactive render mode, choose Auto. This will create a solution with a server and client project. Then for interactivity location, choose Global. In the Package Manager console, make sure you're inside the Client Projects folder and add the MudBlazor project. In the imports.razor file, add a using for MudBlazor, and in the program.cs file, add the Mud services. Also add a MudBlazor using in the server project's imports file. And in its program.cs file, register the Mud services. In the app.razor file, add links to the MudBlazor style sheets, and add the script last in the body section. You can find these on the MudBlazor site under Getting Started Installation. Right, with the MudBlazor setup done, we can get started on the dashboard page. In the client project, you can remove the template counter and weather pages and add a new Razor component. We'll call it Dashboard and give it a page route. Under Layout, replace the navmenu.razor file code with a Mud nav menu. Here we added nav links to the home page and dashboard page. In the main layout.razor file, we'll use Mud components as well. At the top, set the Mud providers. In the layout, we'll add an app bar with an icon to open and close the side drawer, and a home button. The drawer itself will display our nav menu, and the main content will display our pages. In the code section, we set up a variable to control the visibility of the drawer. With all that in place, we should see a working layout that uses MudBlazor components. Just to be a bit fancy, let's put the theme in dark mode. MudBlazor themes by default contains a light and dark mode. At the end of this video, there's a link on how you can create your own MudBlazor themes. Before we get to our API, we need a shared project to hold our DTOs or data transfer objects. The API will use these DTOs to share data from its endpoints to our front-end dashboard. Right-click the solution and add a new project. Select a standard C# class library. To keep with the convention, we'll give it our solution name followed by .shared. Inside our shared project, we create a DTO folder and added a class called Dashboard Card DTO. This will have an ID, string title, and a string content. The content will hold the name of the Razor component we want to display on the card in our dashboard. These components will be the actuals graphs or data we want to display in our dashboard. We'll create them in our client project. In the client project, right-click Dependencies and add Project Reference. Tick the Shared project. In our dashboard page, we add a using to the shared DTO. In the code section, we added a temporary list of dashboard cards, just for testing, and an iRead-only collection to hold the IDs of the selected cards. We define a MudSelect component with type int for the IDs. Make it multi-select and set the selected values to our collection variable. Then we simply loop through the cards and display their titles. To display selected cards, we'll make a change to our drop-down selection to catch the selected values changed event and call a method. In here, we assign the new selected cards to our list and get the selected cards from our all cards into a show cards list. Then we add a mud grid, which behaves like a flex grid, and will show every card in our show cards list. Notice, for the mud item in the grid, we set breakpoints for extra small, small, and medium, so the items can wrap for different display sizes. For the mud card content, we simply display the content name for now. In the MUD card header, we display the title of the card and added a close icon button that calls our remove card method with the current card ID. Since the selected cards is a read-only list, we first need to temporarily convert it to something like hash set or list. Now we can remove the specific card ID and push the updated list back into the selected cards. Then, as before, we get the cards to show from our All Cards list, based on the user's selections. Now let's add some components we can display on the cards. The first Razor component will have a simple line chart. The chart series will just hard code for now, with x-axis labels and some line chart options. The second Razor component will have a table with headers and rows. Again, we'll just hard code the items in the table. The last component is a chart again. It's basically the same as the first chart, but now it's a bar chart with bar chart options. Back in our dashboard page, we need a little change to our MUD card header. Because the content may now be wider than the card header, we wrap the title and icon button in a MUD stack and put a spacer between them. This will push the close X icon to the far right. For the card content, we're now going to call a method to render the actual component. Based on the name and the content, we use the builder and specify the open and close parameters for the component we want to load. Our components show in their cards, and our dashboard responds to different browser sizes. So far, we've hard-coded our data. Let's add an API project with endpoints to retrieve the data from a persistent source. You could add endpoints to your server project, but it's common architecture to separate them into a dedicated API. Right-click the solution and add a new project. Choose ASP.NET Web API for C#. Keeping with naming conventions, we use the solution name followed by .api. We'll use the default settings and ensure that use controllers is ticked. In our new API project, right-click Dependencies and add project reference. Select the shared project that contains our DTOs. Add a models folder and a class called Dashboard Card. It looks exactly like the DTO version, and you could have just used the DTO instead of a separate model class. But we're keeping our architecture clean and extensible. Add a services folder and a class called Dashboard Service. This will inherit from an interface with the same name. Here we simulate persistent card data from a database. Notice this is a list of dashboard card model objects. We have one public method our controller endpoint will call. It will convert the cards to their DTO format and return the list. The interface simply contains the one public method in the service. And don't forget to register the service in the program.cs file. Right-click the Controllers folder and add a controller. Make sure it's an API empty controller. We'll call it Dashboard Controller. Inside our controller, we inject the dashboard service and add one HTTP GET endpoint to return the list of dashboard card DTOs. With our API in place, we need to run it with our project. Right-click the solution and go to Properties at the bottom. Under Configure Startup Projects, select Multiple Startup Projects and make sure your main server project and API project starts. In the server project's program.cs file, we need to set up an HTTP client so it can call the external API. First, we get the URL string from our app settings. We'll look at that just now. Then, we add an HTTP client and set its base address to the API's base address. After that, we add the HTTP client factory service. Here's the API URL in our app settings JSON file. and the API URL you can find in the API project's launch settings. Because we are using an auto-render mode, the application will flip-flop between server and client-side rendering. So we need to set up the HTTP client in the client project's program.cs file as well. Here we just hard-coded the API's base URL. Also, when it's in client render mode, you'll run into CORS or cross-origin resource sharing security issues with the API. In the API project's program.cs file, add CORS services to allow your project to access the API. In the with origins property, specify your server project's URL. You can get the URL in the server project's properties launch settings file. With that plumbing out of the way, we can get back to our dashboard page. Now we can inject the HTTP client service. Then in the code section, we can remove the hard-coded cards, and in the onInitialized method, we can call the API to retrieve all the cards. The app still runs the same, but now gets its data from the API. Before we get to the live update of the dashboard components, we want to quickly demonstrate how to persist a user's dashboard layout. In our shared projects DTO folder, we added dashboard user DTO. This joins user IDs with dashboard card IDs. In the API, we mirror this class in our models. In the services, we added a list to simulate a persistent database table. Here we have user 1 that displays card 1 and 3. Below that, we have a method to return all the cards for a specific user. Note, we're returning the DTO format to the front end. In our controller, we add an HTTP GET that takes the user ID and returns the card list. Back in the client project's dashboard page, we retrieve the user's cards and also update the selected cards list. Of course, in a real-world app, you would pass an actual user ID to the API. When the user goes to their dashboard, their selected cards will display. Now we just need a button to update their selected layout. In the API service, we add a method to update a user's card selection. Here we simply remove the existing user cards and add the new card IDs. For an actual database, you may consider rather using an update flag system than deleting and adding records. This example won't actually work anyways, because when the user navigates away from the page and comes back, it will just reload the hard-coded list. We add this method to the interface. In our controller, we add a post method that takes the user's ID as well as a list of card IDs from the request body. Then it calls our new service method to update the user's cards. Back in the client's dashboard page, we're going to inject MudSnackBar. This will display a pop-up message for us if the update was successful or not. We wrap the drop-down selection with a button in a MudStack row, so the button will be on the far right of the drop-down. The button will call a method to save the user's layout. The method calls our new endpoint to update the user card selection. Again, we're just passing a user ID in, and for the request body, we pass the selected cards list. If the response is successful, we add a success snack bar. Otherwise, we add an error snack bar. Now for the real magic part. We're going to wire up a SignalR hub to update our client's graphs in real time. First, we need to create a data transfer object in our shared project that the hub can use to communicate the updated data to our client project. We're just going to do the one component. The others will work exactly the same. This DTO is for the line graph with the two-player data. In our server project, we're going to create a dashboard hub which inherits from hub. SignalR is already part of .NET Core. This will behave like a central dispatch that will send a message to any component that's connected to the hub. In the program.cs file, we hook up the middleware for this hub. Then we add a service. This will update the data of our graph. We inject the hub context we just added to our program.cs file. This service inherits from the background service that is part of SignalR. In any case, we're going to override one method of the background service, the execute async method. Here we have a while loop waiting for a cancellation token. In other words, when the component disposes its connection to the hub, we generate some random values for our player A and B and send it to any component listening. Then we wait 10 seconds before generating new data. And before we forget, register the service in our program.cs file. Now our SignalR hub is ready, and our final step is to make our components in the client project connect to it. SignalR is not part of our client project, so we need to install the new Get package. Install the Microsoft ASP.NET Core.SignalR.Client package into the client project, making sure to select the correct version for your framework. In our first card component, we'll need using statements for our DTO and SignalR. We'll also need iAsync disposable to dispose of the hub connection when the component is no longer in use. In the code, we'll need a hub connection and a dashboard data DTO for the graph data. In the onInitialized method, we create the hub connection. This needs to point to the dashboard hub in the server project. We'll also use with automatic reconnect in case the component accidentally loses connection with the hub. When the hub connection's on, received dashboard update event fires, we use the data to recreate our charts series. Then invoke a state has changed for the component. With our hub connection set up, we can start it, and our component will receive real-time updates from the hub. Once the component is closed, it can disconnect or dispose of the hub so it no longer receives updates. With that in place, our first component will receive random data every 10 seconds. You can set up the other card components in the same way with whatever real-time data you wish your users to see. Thank you for watching our video. For more tutorials on C#, click subscribe. Give us a like so the video can be visible to more people.